On a busy kitchen floor, a simple maintenance task instantly escalates to a massive violent flash. It was a routine afternoon. A worker crouches near the cooking area, likely making a connection or checking the fuel supply. The focus is entirely on the small detail, but the greater danger is silently building around him. There is no ventilation. The risk is trapped in the confined space. In seconds, an unseen cloud of gas finds an ignition source. The routine is shattered by a sudden intense explosion. The flash hits the worker directly, forcing him back violently. Equipment is tossed, and the entire work area is instantly compromised by the immense explosive force. Never ever treat fuel supplies in confined spaces with anything less than total, professional caution. Always ensure gas connections are secure, leak-tested, and that proper ventilation is active before beginning any work. Did you notice the missing safety check? Share your insight in the comments. On a warehouse floor, a moment of impatience transforms a simple lift into a life-threatening squeeze. Two workers are using a freight hoist, a machine designed for materials, not passengers. One worker steps to the side of the moving platform and attempts to reach past the protective railing. This single action immediately violates all safety protocols. The danger is instant. As the platform ascends, the worker is caught between the moving hoist and the fixed structural beam of the building. The confined space allows no room for error, and the crushing force is overwhelming. Never ever use freight hoists for passenger transport. Always maintain a safe central position inside the moving platform, and never attempt to reach or lean past the safety barriers while the machine is in motion. Respect the machine's intended use. It is a materials handler, not a vehicle. A critical failure in zone control transforms a routine loading operation into an avoidable civilian collision. A worker is operating the crane from the truck bed. The area around the vehicle is not properly secured. The primary failure is one of awareness. A motorcycle driver stops right inside the hazardous swing radius of the moving crane. As the crane boom swings outward to grab material, the operator's vision is obstructed. The crane unexpectedly makes contact, snagging and dropping the motorcycle with sudden powerful force. The entire incident was caused by a clear lack of perimeter control. Never ever allow non-workers or unauthorized traffic into the operating zone of a crane or heavy machinery. The entire lift zone must be clearly barricaded. The operator must stop all movement the moment the safety perimeter is breached. On a utility pole, a routine service operation instantly turns into a catastrophic high-voltage failure. Multiple workers are positioned high up on the pole, utilizing a standard ladder setup which is already inherently unstable. They are working directly next to active high-voltage lines. The most critical step, de-energizing the system, is ignored. In seconds, one worker makes contact with a live line. The electrical current instantly arcs through the worker's body, causing a powerful, involuntary reaction. This violent surge throws the workers off balance, cascading into a serious fall hazard for the entire crew. Never ever approach active high-voltage lines without confirming the power is completely off and locked out. Isolation is the law. Use certified non-conductive access equipment and maintain absolute distance from live components. When dealing with electricity, protocol is your only lifeline. The extreme force of nature turns a routine road into a collapsing hazard, catching an unsuspecting driver off guard. Heavy rains have washed out the road structure, completely destroying the bridge or culvert underneath. The driver approaches the area at speed. Their focus is on the familiar road ahead, but they fail to register the massive chasm created by the floodwaters. The driver is unable to stop in time. The motorcycle is instantly pulled into the current and disappears into the massive surging flow. This sheer display of hydraulic power highlights how quickly familiar ground can become an absolute trap. Never ever drive on roads during or immediately after severe weather conditions that cause flooding. Assume that any submerged or damaged road is fundamentally compromised and impassable. The power of moving water is far greater than any vehicle. At a busy railway platform, a reckless shortcut turns a desperate dash into a horrifying fight for survival. An individual attempting to rush across the tracks is instantly forced into the path of an oncoming train. The scene is crowded with travelers, yet one person ignores the waiting crowd, choosing to cut across the live rail line. They sprint across the tracks to save mere seconds, but as they reach the opposite rail, they suddenly see the massive locomotive bearing down on them. In an instant of absolute terror, their only chance of survival is a desperate maneuver. They immediately drop flat onto the center railbed, attempting to utilize the narrow space between the rails. The heavy train rushes directly over them, the deafening metal and undercarriage just inches above their body. Miraculously, the tiny gauge clearance provides a sliver of refuge. Once the colossal weight passes, quick-thinking bystanders rush in to pull the stunned and shaken individual to safety, preventing the disaster from becoming final. Never, ever enter the tracks. Relying on the small gap between the rails and the train chassis is an act of extreme desperation, not a safety measure. Always use designated crossing points. The tracks are not a shortcut. In a factory using heavy rolling machinery, a moment of inattention leads to a terrifying immediate entanglement. The speed and power of the rollers instantly pull a worker into the machine. The scene is an industrial floor with a large fast-moving roller press in operation. Workers are maneuvering near the massive equipment, perhaps moving material or checking the line. As one worker walks past the open side of the moving roller, they step too close. In a split second, their loose clothing or arm brushes the moving cylinder. They are snatched and pulled off balance, instantly drawn toward the dangerous pinch point. The sheer force of the machine immediately engulfs the worker. Others rush over in a panic to try and stop the powerful operation. Never ever approach moving rollers or conveyors without safety guards securely in place. Loose clothing or long sleeves are an absolute danger near rotating parts. Maintain absolute distance from the machine's pinch points. They demand total respect. A routine trash collection job instantly turns into a catastrophic hazard. Two workers face a violent impact, but one avoids the lethal crush. The crew stands behind their large parked truck, focused on the task. Suddenly, a speeding vehicle barrels in, striking the parked truck with full force. One worker is instantly trapped between the two massive machines. The second, standing on the very edge, miraculously escapes the main pinch point. Never ever stand between a truck and the traffic lane. This common work area is a lethal hazard. Distance is the only guarantee of safety on the roadside. A routine concrete pour instantly becomes a lethal electrical hazard. The metal guide on the hose strikes an overhead power line, violently throwing a worker to the ground. The scene is a busy construction yard, where workers are guiding a pressurized hose delivering concrete. The worksite operates dangerously close to overhead electrical lines, a silent hidden threat near the high pump boom. As the workers struggle to manage the hose's force, the attached metal handle swings upward. In a catastrophic error, the metal handle makes direct contact with the active power line. The worker is immediately struck by a jolt of force, causing him to lose balance and be violently sent sprawling onto the concrete surface. The hose continues to thrash nearby, but the immediate threat is the downed worker. Quick-thinking crew members immediately rush toward the fallen man. They prioritize moving him away from the live area and providing necessary aid. Never ever operate pump booms or any high-reaching equipment without confirming and maintaining safe clearance from all overhead power lines. Electricity is a sudden, silent killer. This hazard creates the twin danger of severe electrical trauma and a traumatic fall. Always survey your full worksite for hidden lethal threats. A single flash can ignite a disaster when flammable vapors are present. In the busy metal shop, a worker begins welding a container, likely an old fuel tank or reservoir. Crucially, it was not properly cleaned or purged. He leans close, assuming the tank is safely empty. But empty does not mean safe. Even a small amount of residual fuel leaves behind highly explosive vapor. The heat from the welding torch acts as the ignition source. In a terrifying instant, the tank explodes outward. The force violently throws the worker back, sending debris and flames across the floor. Never ever weld, cut, or heat any fuel tank unless you have followed strict procedures to clean, vent, and gas-free the interior. Empty fuel tanks are lethal hazards due to residual vapor. Always verify the atmosphere before starting work. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments below. Your insight could save a life or help prevent a catastrophic mistake like this one. Stay safe and take care.